Okay, hello again. So today we have the fourth session of performative arts in virtual and augmented realities, and we will start with presentations of your homework. For those who couldn't present the previous time, the previous session, the first homework can show both presentations today. So let's start. Again, how I see your faces on Zoom. So, Alexander, you're again the first one on my Zoom.
Yes, hi everyone. Right. I found a couple of the projects, and when I was searching for like brain-computer interface, I found it a lot of interesting but quite similar. With just, let's say, with the headset on the participant and these EEG measurements, and then mostly transform to music or to some visuals during like thinking or like going through different like emotions. This one I found quite interesting. It's EEG Kiss called, and it's still ongoing. And two people kissing with these devices on them, and during their kiss, the EEG measurements are taken, and they're like visualized on the stage, and also translated to some kind of sound, and that's quite interesting performance. And also interesting that all this data is they make it available, and you can even download and I guess to plot it and to see how it looks. It's a bit in a weird format, but it's available, which is interesting. It's a bit something different than just music or just visuals, but the data taken during the kiss of maybe sometimes for strangers. So yeah, that's a short overview of the project that I wanted to share with you guys.
Great, thank you. So next one, Zoe.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to admit I maybe slightly cheated on the homework in that I present something slightly different. And hold on, I need to just share my screen. Sorry. Where was the share screen option again? I know I don't see. Ah, there it is. Sorry. Good. So actually I searched for performances using AI, and I couldn't quite find anything that really I felt it was interesting enough to share. And then I remembered that actually last December, I saw a performance from a real human being performing as an AI bot, or an AI, taking on an AI persona. And I thought that this would be an interesting slant on the homework task. What she did was, I would just read the text quickly. So in what ways is lucidity trapped in programmed algorithms and determined data sets? TikTok, the Timeline Clock, which was a solo performance from Laurie Baldwin, investigates learning processes and consciousness of artificial intelligence through a set of parameters that generate interactions with the audience. The performer assumes the role of an embodied AI Laurie, that is in training. It follows a pre-coded algorithm to invite and answer questions from the audience. The information feeds back into a learning process. Coding is not neutral. The audience's biases are part of its development. The piece explores how truth is constructed and disseminated, the deconstruction of language, or the construction of language, and the productive possibilities of a glitch. Glitching signifies a deviation and an option to fail for AI Lorry, inviting questions of free will and algorithmic limitations. What I found interesting about the performance is that she adopted this sort of uncanny valley robotic AI persona, and then it's different every time. So she stands in front of a microphone and she invites the audiences to ask questions, and she has gone through several iterations of this performance. So she actually has built up a very large repertoire of standard questions that audiences answer, but also has created for herself algorithms for how to answer any question that comes as this, and it generates new possibilities. And she asks the question, or she invites the audience to ask questions. They ask a question and then she answers it, and then she says, "Have I answered your question, yes or no?" And if the audience answers no, then she will continue to try and rephrase and answer the question, but in this very strange way, and it kind of gives an impression of a very human perspective of what AI is and what AI learning is, and of this sort of maybe unease or uncanny relationship between how, from a very human perspective, of how sort of artificial intelligence, and especially sort of artificial intelligence that is supposed to learn like a human or mimic human, how that sort of creates this sort of weird dissonance. There is a video. I don't know if it's interesting to show, or I can just send the link to it. Maybe I just post a link to the video of her performance.
Okay.
Yep. Or unless we have time and anyone's interested in watching this.
I think we have time because several people couldn't join today, so let's maybe check a short part of the video.
Tell me if you hear the sound.
No. When you need to stop sharing, and then when you share screen, there is a checkbox to share audio from your computer.
Okay.
So just now you need to stop sharing.
I'm afraid I'm very incompetent when it comes to I'm trying to find my Zoom screen. There we go. Stop sharing. Okay. And now I reshare and have the option to share with audio as well. Share computer sound.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
My name is Lori. I'm glad you are here. This performance is part of my training. During the performance, I will need you to ask me questions. You may ask me one question at a time. You may ask me a question about anything. After I've answered your question, I will ask if I've answered it to your satisfaction. Please answer yes or no. Please answer honestly. Your answers are a vital part of my training. Let's begin. Who would like to ask me a question?
Are you freezing?
No. Does that answer your question?
No.
I'm sorry. Let me try again. No, I am not freezing. I do not feel cold. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
What's the goal of your training?
The goal of my training is to become a better version of myself. Does that answer your question?
No.
I'm sorry. Let me try again. Becoming better is how one can improve in this life, reaching Without this goal, one would be lost. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Who would like to ask me a question?
How old are you?
Oh, my body is 30 years old. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think you get the idea. So that's the end of my performance, my presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite cool work because it's even like it's not the technology itself, but it shows the principles of the technology, and also like we built artificial intelligence to mimic a human persona, but then she puts this persona on herself, on real human, and we can see how unnatural it all looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see this one previously. Cool one. Yeah. Okay, let's go next. Lina, can you show your work?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning. Yeah, I was really interested in, okay, I'm gonna start with certain things that is a bit problematic with performances and art that is dealing with these things. It's like they share a lot of similar aesthetics, and or there's a lot of still. I mean, yeah, this is something that I was like trying to navigate also through like. And I think I'm interested in the kind of finding out what is uncontrolled or something that I, as an artist, also cannot control. And if there's something, I don't know, that, yeah, the possibility of using these technologies that we're talking about to maybe show something that the uncontrolled of the mind. And I I found like a work that is really old, and it's also just more like a research. I think they never kind of continued making more art with it, and it's I'm going to share my screen because there's actually fortunately not so much to see. This was in Stanford, the University in Stanford. They it was like a collaboration of a musician or and Chris Chave, or I don't know how to say his name, who's a researcher, a scientist who has been working with like brain waves and music for a long time. I mean, this is a work from 2013 or 12 even, no 13, and I didn't find anything them continuing this project, but basically they took data from patients having seizures, so brains on seizure, and they took like EEG data, I guess, I don't know how you say, brainwave data, and then that was translated into music, or basically like a voice, a note that sounds a bit like a human voice, and there's like an audio here, and this is something that many artists have done. I mean, yeah, for a long time. I mean, Albin Lucier made I think the first time. I have like a little Lucier made basically these kind of performances where he with music where he put EEG or like electrodes on his brain and connected it to instruments. So this is something that has already been going on since the 60s, but this I found just interesting from the conceptual side of it. This, I'm gonna turn on the sound in a bit. Just this kind of this like uncontrolled, like how we have the control, we have the capacity to maybe like get information from our body, but then like especially a body that's not in control, or a mind that is not in control, and how we could show that, which is still in a very controlled and a very aestheticized way, because we'll hear this, it's a music, it's like a human voice or something that sounds like a human voice, and we have a lot of references when we hear it. Okay, I'm just going to turn it on. or you have to like pause the share. No, wait. Oh God. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's have to find it. Share computer sound. Okay. Am I sharing the right thing now? Share screen. This one. Computer sound. Share. Okay. Yeah, well, and I'm just gonna yeah. So this I thought, yeah, and I think from this also I've been just like also kind of from this also it's kind of this, what is the possibility to, I mean, like Neil Harbison, who's like the first cyborg, like what is the possibility to, like, you know, I mean, I don't know, it's like this question, like how knowing more about the brain or giving more movement to the brain can actually like make the situation like in a way like living a performance, and that it does like that, or living a concert. And yeah, I think it's kind of like breaking certain boundaries in what is a performance, when is something like making music, and when is something a seizure, or when is something like not being able to see color, and when is something art. Yeah, I think that's try and formulate a lot of thoughts into short sentences. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And this video currently we see on the screen, I think this is the artist who wouldn't see colors, yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, and he has this device plugged in his head.
Exactly, yeah, it's him, and then there's Moon Ripas, who's like, they're like partnering to, they're like the first official cyborgs. He has like, yeah, or they have this antenna to see color through infrared, I think, waves, or I don't know. And then Moon Ripas is like has a seismic, like a sensor that makes her feel earthquakes. Yeah, so they're like the first. And then also she dances with that, makes performances based on that. Yeah, but it's a very yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it even goes like to bio art. I didn't cover it in these lectures, but like bio art is when you actually making some changes to your body with the technology, or with some like I don't know, medicine. It's also very cool and strange and a bit frightening area of art, digital art, but yeah, it's also good maybe to check yourself these artists. They're really unique, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, Leonard.
Hello.
Hello.
So I want to show you today. So I will share the screen. So yeah, I want to show you one artist, engineer. His name is Frieder Weiss. So he's real-time computing and interactive computer system engineer. He lives in Berlin. And this one is, I would say, really simple, but maybe I want to show you because like maybe it could be very useful because like he made, he's author of software Icon and Calypso, and Icon, I just found it last night. I didn't check it out, but Icon you can download for free and you can use it. It's very simple in your work. So, so I will show you some artworks. So he works as a collaborator for mostly for dance companies, and he works together. So where are you? So, no. So, oops. So yeah, he works with pretty big artists like. My favorite is like this Australian super cool like dance company like Chunky Move, or for example Kylie Minogue, but this we will not gonna see today. So for example this Immortal Engine, like pretty old, 2008, and the thing is very simple. Like he have like video camera who checks contrast of the body, human body on background, and then make visuals. You get it, the get idea. So yeah, in this software, he used just like a regular video camera, and the software. I think you can. It could be another case. It could be if you want to do it in darkness or different effects. You can use like thermo camera, or just like thermo sensor. So as I say, like I think this technology is used really often in dance theater. I just want to show it because like it could be really practical because there's this free software that you can use. Then I have like very shortly another artwork, what I found so much more exotic and more interesting. So it's Sasha Spachal, artist, and his artwork is about, so it looks like this. So their idea is like, so there is a plant who lives together in symbiotic life with bacteria on the roots. So and there is the sensors who check nitrogen level in the water, which come from a relationship of the symbiotic relationship for both organisms, and it's influenced by the people who are in a gallery because they breathe nitrogen, and so there is like connection. And then there is like droplets, whoops, from this data from nitrogen, and there is sensor of the light who looks in the droplets and make sound. So this I found more interesting and more exotic because like it's first of all, it's in the center of art, there is no human. It's about interspecies connection, which I found really interesting. And yeah, so yeah. Something like this. I will put the link. You can check it out later yourself. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next one, Vera. Vera, do you hear us?
Yeah, hi. I
Oh,
actually didn't realize that session is today. I found link coincidentally, so I didn't prepare nothing. So
okay.
maybe next time. Yeah.
Okay, it's no problem. Okay, so next, Joe.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So let me share my screen. Yeah, so I went through the same process than Alexander, and I found some really similar project, really interesting. So this one is wait. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is a production from Maurice Benayoun, so it was shown in 2016, so it's already been 4 years. So it's like it comes from a place called the Brain Factory, which is an installation that allows the audience to give a shape to human abstractions through the brain-computer interaction, and then convert the resulting form into a physical object. So they base their artwork on the concept that the brain activity is unique, and then we can, through the process, read individual data and have emotional response. And also, they're trying to really learn and understand the communication between the machine and humans. And they base their work on one fundamental question, which is the interaction between love and freedom. And now,
We actually don't hear sound. Is it?
it's really not worth this. It's just some weird sound. So there's no sound actually. Yeah. So so I find it really interesting that like the work is really examining like the human specificity and the abstract concepts such as love and freedom and desire and what comes out of it. And of course, the project articulates a relationship between thoughts and matter, also between concept and object, and also between, of course, humans and machine. And this process of sublimation and reification that is mentioned in the video, I'd say like raise a general question about the relationship between the matter, the work and the art, and as well as the assessment and the control. And how can we, I mean, how are we like, we as a human being can enhance our power over the physical world, I would say. So yeah, and I think that the title speaks from itself, the brain factory. So that the implicit idea behind this is that humans should start to understand and explore more the specific agency of their brain power within the artistic environment. And I guess I'm finished.
Super, thank you. Okay, so now Samuel.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, I also was going to talk a little bit about the Alvin Lucier piece that Lena had also presented, but good thing I also chose a backup. So I now share my screen. Cool. Yeah, the piece I wanted to talk about then is a piece which is quite recent by Lauren Lee McCarthy, which is called I've heard also it's called Someone, but I've also heard it called Hello Someone. In this piece, it's kind of going actually a really similar route somehow to how Zoe was presenting, in that the piece doesn't actually rely on any sort of artificial intelligence. It instead casts the viewer as the artificial intelligence. So the way that the piece works is that there's a bunch of homes of volunteers which are set up with custom-made smart home devices that would be similar to like a Siri or an Alexa, except that it communicates directly with a gallery space control center that looks something like this. And basically the inhabitants of the house are then responsible for running their home with the smart devices, but they have to outsource their requests to the volunteers who are sitting at the command station. So when they need someone to turn on the lights, they need to order someone to turn on the lights. So the people working in the command center then become not artificial intelligence, but rely on human intelligence. But kind of in a way similar to what Lena was saying, you also have the potential to, in the way that the brain can be unpredictable, they also, by casting human intelligence as artificial intelligence, you also have the choice as someone controlling the smart home to do whatever you want. So you never have to actually conform to the requests of the inhabitants of the house. You can just control their environment if that's what you want to do. So right here, this photo right here is what the interface looks like when you're in the command center. And then you can see on the left side here is what the controls would be. And there's a short video, which I will play.
Someone, can you turn the kitchen light on? Someone, I need a light in the kitchen.
Anyone home?
Oh, stop.
But the worst part about it was, after all that, it turned out not to be the right piece.
What?
Yeah.
And you didn't
like, this
intend
is
to do it at all, right?
I did. They tell us what to put on the truck and where to take it, you know, and that's what we do.
Hello.
Hi.
No, it's in the government.
Fucking weird. Hello. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to share with you an exciting opportunity for investment. Do you have dreams? I know I do.
You want me to reach them for you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Someone. Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, except I'm cooking in the dark because someone won't turn the light on.
How do we, maybe this one?
No, come in. What?
No.
No, it's like, I'll explain. So my friend Katerina's here, and I'm cooking in the dark. Someone, can you turn the light on in the kitchen?
Everything.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the gist. There's a lot of I think you can find a lot of different documentation from the installation online if you want to find more. Yeah, I think it's super fascinating. I really think that's on top of also being kind of a hilarious idea that's really done in good faith and not in a kind of surveillance state, Big Brother kind of way. I think this introducing the capacity for miscommunication and incoherence, also when you talk about artificial intelligence, which is something you come up against anyway, I think it's really amazing to put into formats like this. Yeah, I think this is quite a nice example of this type of interface. Yeah, then I think for me, that's it.
Thank you. Actually, thank you all. I like the way you prepare your homework because all the projects are very different and really very cool. So this is great that you take it seriously. Okay, so now I will share my screen. And
I would like to share something.
Oh, great! Yes.
Yeah. Is the sound okay? Because I'm in a cafe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have an AI project to share, but I did get hung up on the age of AI Siri that you proposed yesterday. And I have two information that I wanted to share about it. I saw video about speech recognition, and what is interesting, there's a team at Google that are working with speech recognition for people who are voice impaired, so they cannot speak very well because of conditioning or diseases. And they're collecting a bunch of data to basically make sure that the machine is also able to recognize voices that are not neuro-able voices. This is an interesting way, and they're also trying to recreate, and this is what I find problematic, they're also trying to recreate the voices as the people had it before the disease or the condition kicked in a way to re-enable their first voice. However, I find it problematic because in a way it's putting a different value upon the voice with the disability. So it's an interesting conversation about it. And the other video that I thought it was interesting to watch was about car racing. Apparently, they're trying to push technology for high-speed cars to ride as fast as they can, to see how much they can push the technology. And one very complex maneuver is when the car has to take over another car. So they tested that with two teams, a German team and an English team. And the German team had a more simple code in the car. and the English team had a more complex code and more sensors on the car. What happened is that the car with simple code was able to complete the takeover of the car in front of it with AI. And the car with more complex code and more sensors was not able to do the takeover because the car was constantly trying to correct the maneuver while doing the takeover. So like the surplus of data and the surplus of sensors actually was counterproductive. And the car with more simple code was more was actually able to complete the maneuver. So these two things were interesting. I haven't found yet a project with AI that I thought it was interesting to share, but I did want to share a project with VR that I thought it was that I liked. So I'm going to share my screen. And let me just find this. Can you hear me? Can you hear the sound if I play?
Actually, no.
No? Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna share again. Share computer sound, got it. And I think that now you have sound. Okay, great. So the project is called La Camera Insabbiata. So the kind of like the room under the sand, something like that. And it's a project by Laurie Anderson and Hin-Chen Wang. Received an award at Venice International Film Festival. I'll share a bit of it. It's a room, well, you see. What I find interesting is the visuals of this work that are not the regular VR, digital, hyper graphic kind of aesthetics. And also because it doesn't have, it gives a sense of flying through the space. So I'm going to...
Now we'll take you to the center of the chalk room. Remember, there are things to see behind you, all around you.
The chalk room is a VR room, that's virtual reality. It's made of words and stories, and it's a big kind of edifice, you know, covered with language and drawings. And I wanted to see what it would be like to travel through stories. And then you begin slowly moving into this world of kind of ramps and hallways, and then it opens out to huge kind of towers, and they're all covered with language. Sometimes letters float towards you, and they're like snow. They're there to define the space and to show you, you know, a little bit about what it is. But they're actually fractured languages. So it's like kind of exploded things. And then there are lots of rooms that you can do different things. Do drawings, make a three-dimensional sound sculpture, see a tree and fly down.
Things like that. And you realize things are made of words.
But mainly, you can fly. That was my my main inspiration to do, so that you could really, like in your dreams. And that takes a little practice. You know, so some people have fallen off the chair, you know, or whatever. But so it needs a little bit of time to get your balance in that world. In some ways, it's an experiment, and it's a kind of very isolated experience too. It's not like a film or you know, a concert. So you're really alone in this world, and alone in the way you're reading a book too. So you know, one of the things that people forget when they do it is to look up and back and around, because we're so oriented to stereo and to things that are presented in front of us that we forget to do that. So mixing sound in VR is programming sound. It's not like making a sound picture, it's making a sound in time.
Okay, I'll stop here, I'll post the link. Yeah, but I was really fascinated by the way Laurie was talking about VR environments and this flying possibility, these different rooms, this like multilinear journey as well in VR that doesn't really have doesn't seem to have a goal, but it's more experiential of an environment. That's it from my side.
Thank you. Actually, it was quite inspiring. I even want to add some my thoughts. First, you mentioned Google, that the project with language recognition was language creation was made by Google, and I don't remember if I said already this, but big companies like, for example, Google and NASA, they actually have art departments. You can apply for some residence programs. The idea of these departments is to investigate the possibilities of new technologies. So this is also a good opportunity for artists. If you want, you can check how to apply for these programs, and this is like a research team for new development. And when you were talking about cars, you were talking about racing cars, but also the interesting moment about automatic cars, artificial intelligence, why it is a problem to have a fully automatic car in a city environment. One of the problems is, for example, when it's a critical moment and the car needs to make a decision. For example, there is no like perfectly good choice, so the car needs to make a decision if to save the life of a person in the car, or save a life for the person in the street. And in different culture, it depends. For example, in Western society, the life of the young ones is more valuable than the old ones. And but in Eastern society, it's reversed. So the old one's life is more important than the young ones. So when we are teaching these artificial intelligence cars, this is a problem how we should teach it. So it we can't teach the same, and even when we finish this, when the actual conflict, the actual car crash will happen on the street, there is a problem with the law, how we who will be who will be in charge for this, the person in the car, those who developed this artificial intelligence, or the car itself. This is just the thoughts to think about. And the last one about the project with text. This is a really cool project, especially the text in VR is not so highly popular, because if you add a lot of text, just like text to read, like in physical space, in real situation, text works like great. But in virtual reality, you need to know that all the texts and like subtitles, it's not so good. Like people don't like it's not comfortable to read a lot of text. But still, yeah, you can see that you can use text, and I think in this work it's like a great example how you can work with the text and the virtual reality. So yes, so now let's go for the fourth session. I will share my screen. Okay. So this session will be the main ideas will be games, multiplayer, web networks, and databases. What is common for all these topics is communication between people and the new way of communication. How like social networks, how even video games are changing, and how we can use it in our art, or how can we research these topics. And we will start with the games and hacking. So games itself, it's a really interesting topic. Like a lot of artists, media artists, actually, in my experience, they don't like when like people take their art as game. But I think this is not bad. This is good. Yes, the viewer, even if your art, digital art, is not a game, but viewer can see it and play with it, and this is good. You should use it. You can check like the games have some principles how you can encourage player to take this game. And you can also investigate and research the real computer games, like two-dimensional, three-dimensional games, old ones and new ones, how they changed. And there is actually a huge part of media art that works with the games or with the hacking. What is hacking? It's when you break a code, or you like you have a game but you change code, or you change textures, or you rewrite it, or you have maybe some glitches. You can check these two links. I really like this artist. You see the picture from his work. It's Cory Archangel. In this work, Super Mario Claus, he used the real game, but deleted like all the important stuff. Like in the game, you are not looking at the clouds. You are playing with Mario, but for this work, he leaves only these clouds, like this small stuff that you actually missing when you're playing. You're not looking at these clouds. You can check the second link with interview with him. He actually do a lot of work, a lot of projects, and I find him really fascinating how he talks about his work. So my suggestion just to listen to him. And the third link will be to the book about computer history and games and hackers. It goes like to that time when the computer was just created, and the games, the whole structure of games and computers, they changed a lot. So nowadays we have very complex programs, very complex interfaces, but if you go to the history, you can check how the time when only one developer can do a game, and it's really inspiring because it's like it's a spirit of open resources and exchange of your experience. And going back to game itself, what is a game and why we play games, why we find games interesting. It actually has several points, characteristics that makes us be interested in games. Like good game, it has the goal, it has some rules, and it has feedbacks on when you do something good or bad. And voluntary participation, it means that you decide when you are playing the game or when you want to buy it. And also the obstacles in the game, the complexity of the game. If the game is too simple, it's not interesting to play it. If it's too complex, it's also not interesting to play it. And all this stuff can be used not only for games, but you can use these game techniques in your art, in performance, or in virtual reality. Actually, these game techniques currently are very popular, and they are implemented in, for example, Uber. For taxi drivers, the company actually, the program that the drivers are using, it has this structure. So you have feedback, you have goals, and this why for what the reason for this is to make the daily routine more interesting, and so you are more engaged in what you're doing. And again, you can use it also for your artwork. And
can I add to this?
Yeah.
You know that they had then later a lot of problems because of gamification.
Yeah.
Because they forced drivers like to take one more trip, and they were tired, so it compromised the safety a lot. So you should be careful with this.
Yeah, it's like everything has its good and bad moments, and like, yeah, of course, like corporations, when the money comes, even good ideas, they can be bad in the end. Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of criticism about like this gamification of work, but still, I added a link to a book. It has also the examples how you can use it in everyday life, and again, you can use it in art. And also about games, like. Games it is something that we like when we are kids, and again, the art, it is cool when your art is when the kid experience your art, and it's a good practice. I found myself like I like even if it's not a game art, just some virtual reality, for example, I like or even like some complex art. It's very cool when you can show it to kids, like your kids or some other kids, random kids, and you talk about it. Because actually, when you talk to the kid, you like when we are making text about our works, it's usually very complex and have a lot of links. But when we are talking to not adults but kids, we simplify, and so we simplify the idea. But this is not bad. Then we can we can find the main ideas in our work. And this is like a good, very useful practice for yourself also, because sometimes we can forget what we wanted to do, and when we talk to kids, and also when we get feedback from the kids, we get honest feedback, because adults not give honest feedback always. This is very useful. Okay, so. This is a bit of the topic, but also this correlates with 3D worlds, games, and like environments. We talked that the environment for your work, you can model it. You can like model it with 3D software like 3D Max or Blender. You can model it with tilt brush like Droid, but also this is cool technique like procedural generation. What does it mean? That the computer itself generates a big amount of the data, like a world data. This is widely used in game engineering, because currently a lot of games are using open worlds, and this is quite not possible to model all this stuff. So what is in the short procedural generation, you use some map, you color it, you say the computer that this part of the map is has more water, this hotter, and like this can have these trees or these, and then based on this data, computer generates the terrain and like the trees, the rocks itself, and it gives really good results. It can be quite complex, but also it is built. You have some simply tools built in Unity, for example, or Unreal Engine. You can check it like you even with very little experience. You can also generate like big worlds that you can use in your project. Another moment is about interactive storytelling. So it's actually when the game the game modes, like when you can decide what your character is doing, and these techniques goes to, for example, filming or like some soap operas. I think the most famous example of the previous years, the series of Black Mirror. You can check it on Netflix. So the idea was that this film has several possibilities, and in some points it freezes, and you should check the answer, and based on your answers, the film is changing, and it's changing only for you. The other example is also about some, I think, Netflix or HBO series when it's before the film is started, the viewers could go to application and also give some feedback on the story, and based on viewers' answers, the film was captured. And why I mentioned it here, it's because you can use it also in even like as we talked about, the performance can be shown as 360 videos in VR or in augmented reality. You can also add these interactive moments, even if it's linear. You can use several possibilities when a viewer can, with a simple interaction, can change the storytelling. It gives this feeling of control and being a part of this story. And the next topic will be multiplayer. So the most simple multiplayer is just it's not actual multiplayer. It's like when you have several players or inputs, but it's one application. So actually it's one computer, but you have two like joysticks or keyboards, and several people can together play or view this work and be part of this experience. The more complex principle will be multiplayer based on network. So it can be, so now we have not one device, but several devices. It could be computers or tablets, phones, whatever. And it could be server-based or peer-to-peer. The difference is just in server-based architecture, the server should be always online, always turned on. Without server, clients can't participate. In peer-to-peer, it's not important, there is no server, and if one of the clients is off, the others are still working. For artistic purposes, I think it's more important for games. For artistic purposes, both are okay. You can even use a server-based architecture not only for multiplayer. So there is like a lot of viewers playing, taking part in your work, but it could be used just for some complex works that when you need not one device, but for example, you need a computer and like another computer, and you need to send data from one to another. You also can use server-based architecture and like for connection these several devices. When you use multiplayer, it's very important that you shouldn't use like open Wi-Fi. You should use a closed network, because of course if there is a lot of devices on the network, it won't work good, and also the building itself can be a problem, can block some signals, so you should test it. The most stable version will be if you connect your devices with a router with a cable. You even don't need internet for this case, but all the devices will be connected together. I actually didn't prepare examples for multiplayer works, but I think the idea is quite clear. Like most of the examples we already seen. You can imagine if we want to make a multiplayer, so it just adds another layer to the work. Other important topic will be web itself, like networks, social networks, because it's a new way of communication and information exchange. There is this thought that nowadays we don't meet so often, and the artists also don't meet so often like previously. We had these meetings a lot. Nowadays it's why it's not so wide, because we have internet, we have social networks, and the most information exchange and communication goes through networks. So for other artists, it's also very important to work with this topic and to check it. I will show a video. This project launched several years ago on the Reddit on the 1st of April, the Fool's Day, when the users could could check the link, and they could put the pixel on this big canvas. You could put only one pixel per 5 minutes, so you need to wait. You can't like draw a lot of pixels, and you couldn't communicate one with each other. But still, you can see in the video how maybe I think they started to communicate, and how the characteristics of these drawings are changing, and how the final piece showed up. Yeah, I will add this presentation. I will send the link to this presentation. You can check the whole video. I really like it. You can see how even the form of the visuals is changing from like small pieces to big pieces. And this is the example. Actually, the artwork. I'm not sure they thought about this like artwork, but and actually there's like no artist, but all the viewers became artists.
Was it here in this project when like people created like some paintings like Mona Lisa here, and then another group of like trolls appeared and they started to destroy it, but then the whole community, you know, started like to rebuild it again,
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
repair everything that was destroyed. That was also interesting.
Yeah, and also like this moment, like when this black area started to like invade other space. Yeah, also there is an interesting comment on YouTube that Reddit should do it like every year, because it also represents actually our current interests on internet, like memes, like science that are popular in this time. In this project is a bit old, but it's an installation. You can see like this small garden. It's called Telegarden, the project, and this is the lamp. And the viewers can see it on the network, and they didn't communicate each with they are like in separate locations, and they can control this. I'm not sure if they control only light, maybe water also, but the idea was that based on their actions, this garden will like die or grow, and yeah, you can check the link. It has also videos on YouTube. So this is also about cooperation and like decisions we made on the internet. This work is not like very important here, but I wanted to talk about how we can publish our works on the network. Of course, it's a problem that, for example, maybe you remember it was like years ago, Flash player was popular, and there was actually a lot of art made on Flash player, but nowadays it's not so popular, and it's not popular at all, and not all browsers can show it. We have new technologies, for example, WebGL. You can build it by Unity, Unreal, and all other stuff. You can, for one point, it's very cool that we can publish something on the network and just send links, and people can take part on it. The problem is that after several years, it probably won't work. So you need either to update it or to archive it in some form, so you can show it if you want it, or you can just leave it and to disappear on network. WebGL is quite simple. There's a lot of examples, so it's actually like you're making some interactive environment, and you can use mouse controls, you can use a keyboard, and you just publish it to networks. It's like you can find a lot of sites that collects this WebGL, so you're free to load your work. Yeah. This is just an example of some of forms of web art. This is the area example of web art. yeah, you can see here that the important moment that the address line is changing every time. So actually, it's not one site. This work, it's about also how the web works. So on each frame, we actually are redirected, and this is like unlimited process. The sites are generated, and you go to each site. Yeah. So. There is also a term, cyberperformance. So it's a performance that is taking place on the internet, and it uses a camera. It uses some generates some data. It uses it's not like you just show your performance. It also uses the data that viewers can post on your on the chart, that it can manipulate some stuff. You can find examples of this. Some link is here. It has several performances, and this one also there. And I wanted to talk about databases. What is big data and databases? It's like previously we had no possibilities even to manage a lot of data. Currently, all this can be just saved, and actually big companies like Facebook, Instagram, they save a lot of information. Sometimes they even don't know, don't have purposes right now why they need to save it, but they can. The idea is just save, and then in the future maybe we will need it. Again, it can be used in good and bad purposes. And I'll go for this slide. What is the public APIs? It's actually some of this information you can access. You can just, for example, NASA. So you have all the information where you can, like, this is HTTP request. So when you use this request, you will get the actual files from the NASA database. You will have not only file but information about it. The information can be really different, like date or gender, or like quantity or emotions. For example, when you save image to Facebook, currently it is automatically it finds out, is it a human or is it a cat, and all these tags are added to your image. Facebook, Instagram, they closed up several years ago. They closed up these open APIs because they had problems when eventually it was used not in good purpose, and so now this information is closed. But you can find a lot of other APIs. These links are just an example. You can go, for example, if you already know that some site has a database, you can just Google if it has these public or open APIs, and yeah. So, for example, again. Here you can check what exactly you want, and then go deeper and find the request you can use in your application. And then what can you do with this data? One of the examples, I add a link to a site of Lev Manovich. He is a lecturer, curator, and an artist. He works a lot with big data. You can find a lot of examples how it is done. One of the examples is on Broadway. These pictures are taken from Instagram when it was open, Twitter, and it also has some information you can find, like call information, time of the day, and actually the position, so the location on the street. And it was presented as this big interactive screen. It also has, on the site you can check the web version of this. So you can look at the whole amount of these pictures, and then you can also choose one. And so you see the day, you see a lot of information, and you can go deeper and see some separate pictures from this moment. So there is a lot of possibilities how to work with this data. Of course, it is done automatically. You need to use some software or write your own program how to manage. So you have like thousands of these pictures or texts, and then you can make analysis of this, and based on this analysis, you can present or use it for your work. Yeah, actually on this point, I will end, especially because I have some problems in my flat with the sound, and I want to finish with that all this all this stuff we were talking on this session. Of course, they are not the whole amounts of possibilities for digital art and performance in VR, but this is the ones I find most interesting for myself, and you can just be inspired by this and think about how you can use it in performance. So maybe now, if you have questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I have a question about the relationship between multiplayer and interactive storytelling. I was wondering how to shape that, like what kind of possible triggers could create interactive storytelling in a multiplayer situation. I don't have an image or an idea, so maybe like you have some example or some strategies.
Let me think about this. It can be made differently. So again, so in multiplayer, let's imagine we have several players. So first of all, we should think what we as an artist allow them to do. For example, they can talk with each other, or they can make some changes to environment, or if they're in VR, so they can go to some places. And so then we can use some algorithm which depends on these actions, how to change our story. So it's not so about multiplayer, so just about again this logic that we implement, how the environment will react to our actions. In case of multiplayer, you can definitely work with, for example, you give some task for the viewers, and this task couldn't be performed by one viewer. So to participate, you need to communicate with each other. You need to do something together. I think this is important, like if you want to work with multiplayer. So you need to give them tasks that they need to do together, and based on how they do this, how they cooperate or no, the environment can change.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking of like collaborative tasks. So imagine that like in a multiplayer situation, the players have to, for example, let's say, sing a song together in a karaoke situation. And if they do it in a specific way and the sound waves of the voice are matching, then they're able to unlock the next level.
Yeah.
Otherwise they stay. Like, so in this sense, maybe the trigger could be some kind of like matching of sound waves. Could it be?
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay.
It could be also like another example I just had in mind. Like, for example, you are making some virtual floor, like ice. And so the viewers should be very careful when they are on this floor. And so based on their movements, they should be all careful. If someone is aggressive, the whole experience will like breaks and so on. Yeah. So it can be simpler or complex. And for example, for sound, you can also use like this artificial intelligence. Like, yeah, you have some program with AI that will make analysis on this data. So they sing a song, and then the program should check it if it's good or bad. Yeah, like this.
Yeah, with one more question. When you said, for example, if a player is aggressive, like I understand that either one should have some kind of brain-computer interface to track aggressivity. But could it be that aggressivity, for example, in if we are talking about this ice, a floor that breaks, is just the speed of the steps? And if you move too far, then you're being uncareful and you fall through the ice. But if you move slowly, then you can manage. Could it be something like that?
Yeah. So again, you can use data like from all the sensors and all the these types of data, like movement, sound, brain waves, all this stuff, like all the inputs you can imagine. Then you can use it, and you can use so inputs from several players, and based on that, the experience will change for all of them. Yeah. Also, I just remember I wanted to add to multiplayer. So like all this time we are talking only about like multiplayer when we are in the same environment and we see each other, or but it could be, but it's not like necessarily. So multiplayer can be also like some environment. You don't see yourself in this environment. You don't see others, but you can. So you see some part of the environment and you have some controls. So based on your actions, this environment, it could be like augmented reality, will change for everyone. It's also a multiplayer, but a bit other. So it's more like this example with a plant when you don't see other players, but you all are playing. Yeah.
And one last question, I swear, everybody. Going back to the body, how's it called? Body, this body device that is used also on Xbox that scans the skeletons.
Kinect camera.
Kinect camera, yes. this kind of camera also allows to track data from different bodies in the same space?
Yes, so in this situation, you can use like one computer. You don't need this client server thing. It's one computer and one Kinect camera. Kinect cameras, it has several generations. So the first one, I think it can recognize only 2 humans at the time. Like it could be 1 or 2, but like second Kinect, I think it's 4. So it has limitation on how many.
It has six people.
Yeah, but yes, it will see them. It will not work very good if they are like this. It's okay, of course, if they go and one is hiding behind the others, it will be not so good. But still, it's this could be also the form of multiplayer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if no other questions, I want to say again that the next session will be a bit different. You will present your own projects. So please think again about all the topics that were mentioned on the session, and try not to limit yourself. So even if the project is looks very big and complicated, still I encourage you to not limit yourself at this point. Don't think how you will do it in real life. Like, you should think about this, but even if you find it too complex for yourself, still please present it to everyone. So we can discuss it, because in my practice, sometimes you can think that something is just too complex, but when you're starting to talking and think more about this, you can simplify it, or even if you can't implement it, for example, this time, in several years, it was for me like I had an idea, and like in 2 years I had the possibility to make it. So just make scratches, make the ideas, and think about conceptual part of it and technical part of it. What you know you need, or if you don't know how to do something, also just mention it. Maybe we will talk together about this. And if you will have some other questions for me, like maybe you wanted to hear about some technology or about some form of digital art, you can also just post it, and then I will, on the next session, I'm not planning any lecture, so the main part will be your presentation, but if you have some questions, you can send it to me, and I will prepare some information on this with examples here. Okay, so it's all for today. Thank you all. Have a good day and weekend.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.